Hello and welcome back to the Non-League Podcast with myself, Lee Simons. And yes, we are back with a new podcast. Today, I'm actually joined by Victor Holloway, who is actually the head of media at Leiston FC. Victor, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi Lee, thanks for having me. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I know it's another difficult times for us again, being into our second lockdown now. But how is it?
Yes.
How's things for you?
You know, they're all right actually. You know, we're all missing football. We're
Yeah,
coping as best as we can.
yeah,
We're having to make do, but I think second time around we're kind of learning the lessons from the first time and using that to try and find a way forward, aren't we?
yeah, definitely. And hopefully the season will kick off on the 5th of December, I think it is for us.
Yes, I believe so. From my understanding, I believe we've got fixtures around various teams in and around that date, or
Yeah.
one of the teams has a fixture on the week after. But yeah, I'm guessing everybody wants to return as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely, Victor. I know that feeling. But are you actually working at this time of lockdown? Are you doing anything at the moment?
Yes, I'm doing bits and bobs from home. As a lot of people are. I think the advances in technology have really come to the fore in the last few months,
Yeah,
and we're sort of lucky to still be able to earn the bread, if you like, without having to go in the offices and putting ourselves at risk. Of
yes.
course, a lot of respect to those that are still having to take those risks and took those risks in the first lockdown.
Yeah.
A lot of credit to them.
So how was it for you in the first lockdown then, Victor? How did you cope in that?
To be honest, Lee, it was. I found it tough. I'll be honest with you. I was sort of in a transition phase between Norwich City Women and Leiston.
Yeah,
It was a little period of uncertainty that actually happened during lockdown, but before that, I'd sort of been going through a lot personally, and then suddenly there was this pandemic that was sweeping the globe, which we weren't really, we didn't know too much about at the time.
no,
There was a lot of fear, a lot of reflection from a personal point of view.
yeah,
There's stuff, but I sort of look back now and I pat myself on the back, like a lot of people would do, for actually showing a lot of resilience to get through it.
yeah, definitely.
And credit, from a football perspective, it was really tough.
Yeah,
I'd been involved with a project in Lowestoft,
all right.
footballing project, and we'd worked hard, and suddenly football stopped, and we didn't know what was going to happen on the back of that.
No.
A lot of people then needed a lot of reassuring. We built a sort of club from scratch, and we suddenly, I was faced with over 60 people who we were suddenly having to keep motivated for an uncertain period of time.
Yeah,
I found that very, very challenging to start with,
yeah,
but nowhere to hide. We had to do it. And I missed the game as well. There's only so many Zoom meetings I could do.
yeah. You're right there.
So, all right.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from there, Victor, because in the first lockdown, I was furloughed for 10 weeks. And then, of course, the business, my business, kind of shut down because laser tag wasn't one of those necessary things to do and, essential things to do. So we had to close down for 3 months. And the only thing what kept me going, of course, is the family. Is number one. Then I decided, so what else can I do for, trying to keep people active in talking to me? So I just thought of this, well, why don't I do the non-league podcast? So I thought, right, that's what we started with. So I started with the Thetford Town captain, Sam Bond. He was my first kind of guinea pig, shall we say. It kind of went down quite well. So we did 47 podcasts. It was kind of interesting to speak to everyone. Of course, yourself, Victor, about people's backgrounds and history of how they got to where they are.
Absolutely. And, I have to say, Lee, I'm always talking to people about, and, you'd have seen from the various Leiston media outlets that, we're always talking about how actually, yes, we've been through some really, really tough times.
Yeah.
But, we also have to credit and celebrate the resilience of humanity, the good things that also come out of it. I mean, we could dwell on the negatives, like, that we have to. All year long, we've had to read a lot of scary stuff and worrying things, people's jobs, people getting ill, losing loved ones, being restricted. But what's come with that is also the realization of, how people actually come together and come together and look out for each other. And, there was the Be Kind movement. Yeah. I think a great example really was the Clap for Heroes. Yep. That was worldwide, and it's almost unprecedented. And I know it's such a small gesture, but actually, that gesture meant so much to so many people, and it's become almost a symbol of the human race as we go forward. And I think, one of the things that certainly got me through missing football and missing normality was listening to podcasts like yours.
Thanks.
And I know we'd got a lot of people through a lot of long days. There's always something to look forward to. You guys were striving to get something out. It was always entertaining. It was always relevant, and in a way, it kind of kept us in touch with our normal lives. Especially those involved in football.
Definitely.
But actually, yes, everything feels like it's been taken away, but it's still there, and you and people like Sean and the likes of D-Jam and co, you've gone out your way to give people that, and to make sure that people always felt that they had something to look forward to. So I really should thank you at this point for that, because I don't think I've had an opportunity really.
No, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Victor. But it's like for everyone, really. There's always that kind of mindset. Everything kind of goes like from a negative to a positive, doesn't it? Really, because we could talk about all the things which have happened in people's lives and everything else, like losing loved ones, and but there's always the positive side of it. We can come through anything, especially with this pandemic which is going on at the moment. With the second lockdown, of course, we're thinking we're back to square one, but in reality, we're kind of not. I know things like these podcasts and other people's podcasts and doing like Zoom meetings, like the Joe Wicks gym sessions on YouTube. That's a quite a good thing to have as well, especially at YouTube at 9 o'clock in the morning. You're up and trying to do your workouts and or even your Zoom meetings with your Leiston fitness trainer as well. It's always something to look forward to at the end of the day. It helps every single people's minds, and of course mental health as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And in all honesty, I missed the Joe Wicks. I actually went the other way. I actually piled on the pounds.
Oh, right.
But it's not until more recently that I've been able to reflect, and you realise that actually at the time it wasn't due to laziness, but it was more down to there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
for myself, I'd had a lot going on anyway, personally.
Yeah.
And also, I'd had the difficult decision to leave Norwich City Women and take up the opportunity at Leiston.
Yeah.
I suddenly found myself, like I said earlier, responsible for 60 people at Hawthorn.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not until you look back and I think, well, actually, you know, I was in a really, really, really dark place, and you know, I think mental health, if anything, over the last years has really come to the forefront of a lot of what we do. And you know, I sort of reflect. You know, we're talking about working from home.
Yeah.
It got to the point. I look back now, and it got to the point where I was literally waking up, picking up my laptop from the side of the bed, popping it onto my belly, and then working from there all day.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got, you know, and not leaving the room, not opening the windows, not getting up to eat unless, you know, the only reason I'd get up is, you know, if I'd needed a wee or I needed to just quickly, I don't know, stretch my legs or something. But you know, it's I look back now and I think, well, actually, that first lockdown was for myself. I didn't realise it at the time, but you know, I took it really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I suppose part of it is, you know, with mental health, it's a tough one because, you know, you're dealing with various things, including depression.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a lot on Twitter, people losing their livelihoods, and but there's also that thing of, you know, you're sort of worried about other people, aren't you, as well?
Yeah.
And then I think the worst thing is when you are on your own.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're told you have to stay in, and you've not got that support network, or you think you don't have that support network.
No.
You're suddenly having time to reflect. And like I said to you earlier, you know, I'd been going through quite a bit before, and suddenly there was all these months that I had no choice but to self-reflect because I was on my own.
Yeah.
And you know, there's only so many times I felt I could find something else to do rather than sit there and actually reflect on where I was and what I was doing. And I think you sort of tend to hide, don't you? You sort of tend to hide what's actually going on, because I think the hardest bit is admitting that you're not okay.
Yeah.
And you know, I spoke to someone really close to me recently.
Yeah.
Not about my situation, but this person is studying to be a counsellor.
Okay.
And what this person said to me was actually, you know, there's a real lack of people studying to be counsellors in the men's field of men's counselling.
Oh, right. Wow.
And you know, because it's almost such a minefield, and I'm not demeaning anybody else's or any other you know, sex or anything, or gender.
Yeah.
You know, their mental health, we all go through it, and trust me, I saw a fair amount during my time with the Norwich City Women.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now I've been involved with men's football. You know, you come into this environment where there's a lot of bravado. I know myself, you know, I used to tend to put a mask on because that's who I was. That's what I was expected to be. And that first lockdown brought a lot of home truths for me, and actually by the time it ended, I was in a better place for it, because I got to the point where I accepted it, and I'd got to the point where I knew I needed help. I ended up seeking help.
That's good.
But yeah, it's okay not to feel okay is the lesson I think we've learned.
Exactly, Victor.
You had any experiences, Lee, at all?
I have done over the last year or so, especially with lockdown, and of course 2 young kids as well, and a wife and bits and pieces, and how you're going to get through this lockdown. And there's a few little rocky parts on my half, and I wish that didn't happen, but spoke about it, and I've come through it with the wife and the kids and the family. And then, as I say, the lockdown come along, had to shut the business up, who I run with my dad anyway.
Wow.
And, that's kind of a purse string, shall we say, it got a bit tighter, and, how are you going to afford the roof over your head and stuff like that? It did happen. But and then I decided, no, actually, I'm kind of better off because I have got a house. I've got, the family around me, especially her side of the family, which is very close by, and the 2 kids as well, because they're only 2 and 1 at the moment. So they've got very young kids at the moment. And then, of course, the wife as well. And, of course, people at work, because I changed jobs as well at the same time. So it's kind of one of those, things which you are going to survive it. Okay, we might take a bit of a hit because 2020 has been rubbish for everyone, really. And then 2021, we can look back and say, right, yes, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, which has happened with football clubs, shops and organisations where you work, especially where I work in the horse racing industry. It kind of took a real hit, especially with the fans, the spectators. They can't actually go to the events, and they're thinking, how is this going to survive? But at the moment, it's surviving. Like the football, it's surviving. I know we're in lockdown and everything else, but it seems when we were out of the lockdown saga, it kind of changed everyone's mind. Okay, we were wearing masks in certain inside areas, but you got plenty of areas to stand around with your mates and everyone else you want to see. It kind of worked, and I was thinking to myself, what can I do in lockdown? So these podcasts come along, and people love them. And
I have to say, I think you're right. I think it gets to a point where actually you then appreciate your life as it was before, even if you didn't before.
Yeah.
But for myself, I think I lost a friend a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And 2 years on, and I sort of, you think you're okay, you think you're coping well with things.
Yeah.
And you're just sort of going through the motions, but again, it wasn't until that moment of self-enforced reflection, where you actually realise, I actually changed as a person without realising it. I went through a real transformation of character. I almost went within myself. I went through a period of pushing people close to me away. Because I thought that the only way to cope with my struggle was to shut up shop, build walls, protect myself. And if I saw people, you put on the mask, have a smile. And just be that character that everyone expects you to be. But you go home and, you look in the mirror and it's just you and yourself. Nowhere to hide, no one to fool. And I think, that with lockdown, that's when I realised, well, actually, I am in a dark place. I do need to speak to somebody. And that's a big step, because especially, us men, we let's be honest, we do tend to struggle to talk about our feelings.
You're right.
You're meeting up with your friends, you're going to the pub, you're not going to be expecting to sit there and having a deep conversation about your actual feelings.
No.
Because you're in a group of people that are expecting to see another version of you.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually decided to seek out professional help.
Yeah.
You know, via counsel at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I think the biggest thing is once you talk to someone, it's that burden, isn't it?
Definitely.
Letting off a lot. And
Definitely.
I didn't realise how much. I thought, okay, I'll go there. She's going to talk whatever she needs to. She's trained to say. I found myself not being able to speak during the first one because I was just breaking down.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't even look up. I was looking at the floor.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then I was like, you know, there is a lot, and because we don't talk about it, we let that burden ourselves because we don't want to burden those close to us.
Yeah.
We sort of bottle it all up.
Mm.
But you know, the biggest message I'd say to people is, my God, it is very important that you know that it's okay to not feel okay.
Yeah.
There is a lot of help out there.
Definitely. There's definitely a lot of help, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, with Leiston, we're currently in the process of setting up a partnership with Suffolk Mind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To sort of tap into, you know, that side of things and making sure that not just the players but the staff and all the people behind the scenes have that sort of available to them.
Yeah.
You know, trained professionals who know what they're doing. I mean, it's a good family there anyway. You know,
definitely.
Like you touched on earlier, apart from the coaching with the under 18s and the reserves,
yeah.
You know, I do head up the PR and media.
Yeah.
And you know, we started it back in July time, in
yes.
the middle of lockdown.
Yeah.
And you know, in a way, starting it during the pandemic was actually it kind of built that relationship dynamic in a different way, because we've got to see other people's vulnerabilities. We've got to the point where actually if someone's not okay, we talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of what you see on our Twitter feeds, on our YouTube, on Facebook, that all of that is it's personal work that's been done by people, and that's done through what's the word, when you sort of just articulate yourself through art.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Hannah Parnell, fantastic photographer.
Very well. Yeah.
And one of the first things I said to her, you know, is, you know, just make it about you.
Yeah.
Everything you're feeling, everything you've been through, you know, I'd like it to reflect who you are. We don't want a generic, you know, photographer. We could get one of those somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're special because of who you are and what you can do. Helps that you've got a hell of a lot of talent.
Yes.
The videos, obviously you've got Ben Cunningham, who I actually met via my project in Lowestoft.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he played for the club that we've sort of built up.
Okay, yeah.
And then we kind of found out by accident that he was into making films or videos, and we sort of built it via Hawthorne, and actually, you know, he spent lockdown and suddenly tapping into that side of his and expressing himself through that.
Yeah.
And there's a few other people. We've got Amy Tompkins, who's the head of our social media. You know, she's, you know, someone who's gone through a lot in terms of personal challenges and disability.
Yeah.
She's used that to sort of come out the other side and build a confidence. And so, you know, football's been a saviour for a lot of us, hasn't it, Lee? Really.
It has indeed, definitely. You're right there. It definitely has been. Because no, I came up to watch Leiston in the pre-season friendly, didn't we? And of course we met there, didn't we? Was it
Yes.
Brighton Sea we played? I think you played.
Yes, that was. Yes. I think we posted your videos, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that got on YouTube over 300 views, I think, and then of course
Brilliant.
the goals, I think they got over 3,000, I think, on each of them,
Wow.
which is unbelievable. Still,
Yeah.
I can't believe it for like a 10-second video, you get over 3,000 views for it. So it's incredible support for Leiston and the clubs which Brighton Sea as well, and of course the local community or the non-league side of it. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Oh, I think everybody's doing a fantastic job. I will always stand here and credit the guys that we're working with. The team we've built at Leiston is phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely.
Because these are just they were normal people who had their own personal ambitions, but they're suddenly coming to the fore.
Yeah.
I can stand here proudly and say actually what they've done and what we've all done is turn around, how Leiston is represented online.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing of it was, when I first had the conversation with Andy Chris, because we had to have a conversation about, well, how does it work with my coaching responsibilities?
Yeah.
What we really want is to make Leiston accessible to people, to fans. Because people love the club, like a lot of other fans of other clubs do.
Yeah.
And if there was one thing we could do during lockdown was do what you did, or a lot of us with your podcast,
Yeah.
and give people that access to normality and that access of actually life. Life is a bit tough at the moment, but we're still going. We're still here with you. You're not alone.
Yeah.
We did the NHS Cup video.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the first project we did.
Brilliant.
And I think that was the first week I got into the role.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. And everybody bought into it. Everyone came together. The whole it's a one big family. And obviously, I think the video was a success.
Good.
We had a lot of good feedback from healthcare heroes and key workers, etc. But it's not just us, Lee.
No.
You've got to credit, places like Galston.
Oh yes, Galston have been absolutely brilliant over the last few months. Even now with Galston now, it's like I think they're doing some the food packages as well now for the kids who can't have a meal a day. No, they've just done a brilliant job, especially with Scott and Rick up there, the two managers who I know. They've done such a great job up there. And of course, the chairman as well. They've all come together. All of them have come together. Every club.
I've never met Scott or Rick personally, but I've been really impressed with what I've seen online and what I've read, and I'm quite big on Twitter. I'm always on there.
Yeah.
And it's very inspirational because I live in Lowestoft and Galston's up the road, and before now for me, it was I came through the Waveney coaching system, so I never really paid too much attention to what was happening at Galston. But now, since the first lockdown, I almost felt like you had no choice but to stand up and pay attention, because whoever's doing their media there, they've been phenomenal. And it's not just them, of course. Galston doing great. Yarmouth are doing great as well. They think things are looking good, especially on Twitter.
Yeah.
There's clubs in and around our league as well.
Yeah.
And I think the one to watch was Dorking Wanderers.
They're with old Alfie.
Kind of,
With Alfie as well at head of media, I kind of know him, and we spoke to each other on Twitter, and of course had a couple of conversations on the phone as well. They've done a remarkable job, especially with the manager as well, Mark, and unbelievable. I think they had 11 promotions in 11 seasons, I think it was.
Yes.
from going from a football field with basically just a shed as their changing room to a kind of a multi, complex with the I think they've got the FA offices there as well, and all credit to Dorking Wanderers.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. You get with all the good stuff, you're always going to get some criticism. I mean, we still get criticism sometimes for if you can't really hear someone clearly in a video, for example, and you're sort of thinking, okay, that you've got to take that feedback, but the ultimate ambition is to do what you can. I've seen comments about, why, if you remember the Liam Jackson Finley Barnes introduction video, that was kind of, Ben Cunningham's arrival at the club. That was kind of, the big, we're here, and we thought, why shouldn't we go big? Why shouldn't we celebrate what we can do?
Exactly.
People look at the clubs and go, oh, it's non-league this, or you're not Premier League or whatever. Well, actually, there's a lot of people that fall under that umbrella. There's communities that fall under the umbrella. There is no reason why you shouldn't be proud of who you are, what you're doing, and there is no reason why you shouldn't go as big as you can. If you're able to. And again, I don't know if you noticed it, but there was a big shift on social media with a lot of clubs doing player announcements.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I love it.
I enjoyed it because it gave me something to engage with.
Definitely. Player signings, like your little videos with, as I say, as you said, with Finley Barnes and Liam Jackson. Yeah, great idea. Brilliant. I love it. More the better, really, because that's what the communities want for, like I said, Leiston, Thetford, Stonemarket, even Galston. Every time around this area, even Needham Market as well. They signed a few good players with Ben Folkes going there as well from Norwich United. They've done a hell of a lot of work in their club with the academy, the ladies' teams, everything. It's been absolutely brilliant. But if it wasn't for the volunteers like yourself, like for DJ, like for Sean, like for Woodpecker TV, Stonemarket TV, everyone, they should be a credit to everyone. It's not just about one person; it's about the whole community and the volunteers. Because if we didn't have
everything we do is built on the cornerstone of volunteers.
Definitely.
I am so proud to be involved in I'm not just talking Leiston, I'm talking all of non-league here. In something where people do what they do for the love of it.
Definitely.
You wouldn't believe the amount of work that goes into it. Again, I manage a media team of probably about 8 to 10 people. And what I found is because of the good work that they do, and this then goes out to people like groundsmen and a lot of board members out there, and people that stand at the gates to and watch the turnstiles and do security and feed people and just keep the club going. All these people, their service has almost become an expected part of it. So we've gone from the point of actually we're lucky to have someone who can produce such a wonderful playing surface for us week in, week out. Someone who's going to watch the turnstiles at a moment's notice. Someone who'll turn up and go around and do a raffle or become the COVID the person who's responsible for all the COVID protocols. But actually, I think we need to be careful not to get lost in all of that, because we really should be appreciative of what we have. And it's all down to the volunteer. They're all fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I look at, I was talking about Hannah Parnell. I look at her pictures and I'm thinking,
wow,
how are you a volunteer doing
exactly
what you do?
She's brilliant.
Some of the work is phenomenal.
Definitely.
I'm thinking, I'd pay for that service. So,
Yeah.
you know, the guy who does our pitch, you've seen the Leiston.
It's like
playing
it was like a carpet when I saw it back in. Was it in July, August time? And
Yeah.
it was just like a little pit. It was perfect, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Playing surface. I wish I had a chance to go onto that pitch because it was lovely. It really was.
Next time you come down, you'll have to take you on a little walk across.
I have to, yeah.
It's phenomenal, honestly. The guy, I mean, I was blown away when I first turned up.
Yeah.
I was like, my God, this is this really like up the road for me? How is this possible? James Mayhew, he's the head groundsman there, and he's a volunteer.
There you go, another volunteer.
I think the guy who does all the Gorston ground, he's done a good job as well. Is it Webby? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, Emerald Park. I was actually going to go to the Emerald Park before lockdown, but unfortunately our game got called off, and it's the Emerald Park. It's actually a four-sided stadium, so it's all covered everywhere. So that would be quite, because I've never been, but the brother-in-law's gone to the game and a couple of seasons, and he said it's a brilliant stadium to go to.
Yeah.
Not the results sometimes, but it's a fantastic stadium to go to. So when lockdown gets out of here,
results don't tell the full picture though.
No.
We sort of look at our table at Leiston.
Yeah.
And see where it's easy. Some people might look at that and think, actually, why have they had just the one win?
Yeah.
When actually, we're quite positive over there.
Oh, definitely.
Because we're seeing a lot of the rebuilding job.
Yes.
That's going on. We see a lot of the culture change, the induction of youngsters. I mean,
yes.
we've had 16-year-olds making their debuts for our first team.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Which is insane. There's a real emphasis on youth. There's a real emphasis on togetherness. There's a real emphasis on development, which is, I feel, gets neglected a lot at that level sometimes.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's so results driven. And actually, you've been to the games, and the football on show is absolutely, sometimes it's out of this world. Like the standard and the style of play is so attractive to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fans, I think that's reflected by how well the fans are responding to it.
Yes, because you've got a lot of followers for Leiston, haven't you? Really,
yes.
Especially on Twitter, anyway.
Yes, we do.
So that's incredible. And most of them are young. I even spoken to Finley Barnes's younger brother. He loved it, and his dad was there as well. I spoke to him all throughout the game as well. So it's a good family feel. A club like most of the clubs around this area, Norfolk, Suffolk, even in the Essex, Cambridge leagues as well. It's all like a family feel for me. Anyway, that's how it comes across to me. Anyway.
Good. I'm glad because I think even before my time there, it was seen as that. Someone said to me, they mentioned the Leiston bug, and I didn't quite know what they meant. But since I've been there, you're absolutely right, and it's such a close-knit club. I don't know if it's because it's in a small town where people would sort of know each other, but you get a lot of supporters coming down from Ipswich as well, or in and around those areas.
You do, yeah.
And then with the likes of your Finleys and your Liams, and your Marcus Wilkinsons and people like that, you get a following. Ollie Saunders is from Yarmouth. Yeah. And you sort of get the following from across the border into Norfolk all of a sudden.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, what they're saying they like, because here we are in what is a small town and what should be quote unquote a small club. Yeah. Breaking the mold and actually setting a lot of standards. Yeah. On and off the pitch.
Definitely.
And you know, it's wonderful to be part of, mate. I can't be prouder to be involved with Leiston Football Club. I think a lot of it comes down to the chairman, Andy Crisp.
Yep.
You know, very down to earth guy, very very good with people,
Yep.
and he's put a really really good team around. I think Darren, Edie, and Chris Rigger have been a massive factor.
Yep.
You know, so positive, you know, so upbeat, very clear and concise in what they want to do. You know, and you forget that actually pretty much there's a whole new coaching team there. I think the only people left from last season are probably the kitmen.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Chris and Trevor.
Wow.
So apart from that, and Dave Williams who does all the fitness. But
yeah.
Apart from that, you've got Lee Norfolk who's come in,
yeah.
who's assisting Chris and Darren, who are obviously joint managers.
Yeah.
You've got Shane Gosling,
yeah.
who's the goalkeeping coach, and my God, you know, all of their contributions are noticed. You know, you've got Shane coming into the clubhouse after the game, and fans saying to him, "Oh, I really like what you've done with this keeper or that keeper." It's that
Brilliant.
kind of club.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he comes to me, he goes, "Can you believe that fans like said this? I can't believe that. I don't, you know." And you can tell he's touched, and I sort of look at him and go, "Well, mate, this is the kind of place we're at, and this is why we need to just appreciate it and enjoy the ride."
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it's about.
It's like at Thetford Town, we've got a couple of fans. I think it's like 3 or 4 fans who are actually from Norwich, and they actually come down to the home games quite often, especially before lockdown and after lockdown. They came all the time. It's great to see. They go home and away. I think they went to Clacton as well from Norwich as well. So you know, that's quite a distance to travel. I know Leiston are a couple of leagues above us, but you know that's credit to them. They've liked something in Thetford Town that they want to come and watch, which is great to see, you know. And I've been told recently that attendances were up for the beginning of the season, which is brilliant. But you know, I don't know how many followers we got now on Twitter. I don't know. I think we're kind of like the lowest, but we're trying to get that mould up and get some fans in the turnstiles, but you know, which is good to see.
Oh, it's great. It's great, and you know, we've obviously missed football during lockdown, didn't we? But I think the biggest part of it was we missed that kind of camaraderie that came with it, that social outlet.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's a couple of people who probably felt that they missed. There's probably a couple of referees that kind of missed the abuse at times.
Probably did.
But I tell you, there's something that touched me when just before we went into the second lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, the demographic at Leiston is obviously of an older generation of fans, and there's a fan there who came up to me and said, do you know if we will be back on the 2nd of December? And I said, well, you know, let's hope so. You know, we've just got to do our best and get through it. And he said to me, well, I'm just worried because, you know, this is the only time I get to see anyone. This is the only time I get to go out the house. And I'm thinking, well, you know, you've been stood on your own the whole game.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm like, oh, I said, yeah, you know that, you know, as soon as we come back, we'll be looking forward to it. And he's like, yeah, but he said, I don't know if I can cope. He said, you know, my wife died a couple of years ago, and the only thing that keeps me going is looking forward to a Tuesday and a Saturday every week. And you know, that's stuck with me for a while. You know, these people that come to sport, we obviously miss the fans and the players miss the fans in that.
Yeah.
But actually, the show that we end up putting together as coaches, managers, backroom staff, players means a lot to a lot of people.
Yep.
And it goes beyond the game.
Yeah.
Goes into a lot of social aspects, a lot of, again, we come back to mental health.
Yeah.
Whether or not that man was standing on his own or not, he was still surrounded by people, in an environment that he absolutely thrived and was part of normality for him.
Yeah.
And the alternative to that was he was going to be at home for 4 weeks on his own.
Yeah.
Not having anything to do. So, I think we'll appreciate it when the fans are back again. Hopefully they allow it when we get back. We don't know, do we? I don't know. Unless you've heard anything, Lee.
At the moment, I know it's 2 weeks left, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, that we'll be back for the 5th of December. Hopefully, so I really hope it does come back. Especially for your fan there. You feel sorry for the guy. That's been taken away from him, but. One of these things with these lockdowns, especially when he's on his own, there's always maybe another thing he can listen to, like these podcasts or a radio station or something else to keep him occupied instead of like the higher radio stations like TalkSport 5 Live. Something what he's enjoyable, like Leiston Football Club. It's got to be something that he wants to do, or even the YouTube channel. When he can look back and watch the highlights again.
I agree, and this is why. I mean, what we've done since is we've again put him in touch with Suffolk Mind.
Yeah.
And trying to get him the help. But I go back to this is why you just don't knock clubs that are doing everything they can to provide as much as they can.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this is when it matters a lot. It matters to those people that love their club, and just because it's not a Premier League or a Championship club, why should they have any less access and any less info? Why should they not be able to sort of look back or watch videos or interact with clubs and feel part of it?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Because in the last few years since I've started to watch non-league football, there wasn't really that much going around like YouTube, Twitter. Really, there wasn't that much going on whatsoever. So I kind of blame the brother-in-law with this one, because he recorded a goal, a penalty for Thetford, put it online, just like a 10-second video, as I said before. It got over 2,000 views. I was like,
wow.
Right, okay, so I was thinking, so how can I do this? So I started to film a couple of games, and then all of a sudden it come to light that people loved it, especially the fans, the managers, the players, the coaching staff, everything. People want to watch these things, even keep it on their timelines, or keep it there to look for their kids. Say, look what I scored back in the day, stuff like that, which is good to see. But it's nice to have people come up to me saying, "Oh, thanks for the goals. Can I have my goals?" Yeah, no problem. There you go. You can have it. And I get recognised at the stadiums, which is quite nice to see. But it's good. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you got to remember, a lot of these clubs are representing local communities.
They are.
So it puts a lot of pride in those communities to see people that most likely they'll know, representing their hometown club, and celebrating all the successes that they can. Why shouldn't we celebrate the successes?
Yeah, definitely. So for people who've been listening to this podcast, probably won't know much about you, Victor. So can we go back in time, shall we say, and how did you get to this point in time where we are at Leiston?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, how far back do you want to go? I grew up in a kingdom called Swaziland.
Okay,
surrounded by South Africa.
All right, yeah.
So,
wow.
For me, You know, it was a very underdeveloped country, and for me, opportunities weren't as available as they are in where we are now.
Yeah.
So I always knew I wanted to be in the game.
Yeah.
I always knew that I'd probably be better at the coaching and administrative side of it.
Yeah.
More than a player.
Yeah.
I was under no illusions.
No.
So I mean, I look back at my time at school,
Mm-hmm.
at my college, and I was coaching the younger age groups and managing the younger teams there. And
Brilliant.
when I came to England, I initially got involved through Waveney.
Okay. Yeah.
Club, yeah.
Yeah.
So by chance, I approached a guy with a Waveney tracksuit and sort of asked him and said, well, I know I'd be a good coach. I just need the opportunity.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm thinking, I'm going to be managing, adults or something.
Yeah.
The reality of it was I had to start with under 9s, and
Okay.
best thing that ever happened to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because you have to learn your trade. You have to start from the very beginning and understanding that process from the foundation phase.
Yeah.
Right through till you get to the competitive phase.
Yeah.
And the education I had at the time. I did my level 1.
Yeah.
Because you have to when you start coaching. And my God, I remember coming out of that course thinking, I thought I knew football, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about, the four corners.
Yeah.
It's not just a tactical and technical game. There's obviously the ethical side of it and the social side of it, and then you start to realize the responsibility that you actually have as a coach, and the importance of doing things right, and the importance of making sure that you give everything you have, because these people they're putting your development in their hands. So I had a team that we put from scratch. So luckily for me, it wasn't always at the forefront of my thoughts, and I'm lucky with the foundation I got, because it kind of taught me that the journey was always what it was about. Watching these players get better. After some time with that, I got recruited by Norwich City Women.
Oh wow!
And I got given an opportunity by Greg Dimsey.
Okay.
He's now, I think he's the is he an analytics coach at Yarmouth?
Okay. Yeah.
Data analyst. That's right. He's a data analyst there now, and he gave me my opportunity, and I had the best time there, because again, it's the journey, and I was getting to understand a different type of dynamic with women's football.
Yeah.
I went in there with my own ideas and thinking I knew it all.
Yeah.
And I basically spent the whole year learning a lot. It was a tough season. So what I took out of that was learning about resilience.
Yeah.
Managing different types of people, understanding the different kinds of pressures, and understanding how actually people cope differently, because they're all from different circumstances and backgrounds. So your motivation techniques can't be a blanket solution,
No.
So I had a great time at Norwich. I ended up managing the reserves there.
Oh wow.
And we were quite successful in had a good cup run.
Yeah.
And also quite, I think we from the time when I left, the feedback I got was, we we had quite a hand in a few players' development, which is always something that you want to look back and sort of be proud of.
Definitely, that's what you want to do, isn't it? You want to achieve that goal, isn't it, for a player to move, maybe to move on to a better club, maybe like Manchester United women, because they've only reformed, they've just been reformed and done pretty well yesterday with a 2-2 draw with Manchester City, didn't they? Really, what a comeback with that. Or even going to Manchester City, one of the best teams in the in UK for the women's game, and of course even maybe go on to playing for England or another Champions League, one of these better teams, even in France with Lyon as well, because they're doing really well as well. So that's what you want to see, isn't it? Because you can say I've put that player on the right tracks to go and achieve what they want to do. So
I'll be honest with you, I got into the women's game at the time thinking, okay, I don't know what to expect, but I was blown away by the standard, the caliber of player that there was, the attitudes, the determination, and if anything, their attitudes, they're more focused at times, because there's almost a lot more adversity that you have to face within the women's game. With Norwich, I think there was certainly a lot of talented players, but during my time there, it was a very sort of transitional period. I think Sean Howes is in charge there, and what he's brought is a lot of stability. And from my understanding, I still talk to a lot of the players there. I still keep in touch with them.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And there is that sort of pathway that they're trying to put in place. It was always going to be tough because they're always going to they're constantly being compared with what's happening with Ipswich women, who are doing a phenomenal job.
They are, yeah.
Of course, Ipswich women, they've sort of had grants and they're doing things a different way, and credit to them. I think is it Natasha Thomas?
Yep.
Brilliant players there, and it makes you look around and think, we've done well as a region. We have really well to represent the game. In the way we have. So there's always my coaching style was to always give players confidence. To always believe in themselves, to dream big. I was more of don't get me wrong, from the level 2s and everything else you do, you sort of learn a lot about the technical side of coaching, but I think my strength was always with the psychological side and making sure that by the time players were on that pitch, they had nothing else to worry about except just expressing themselves freely. And I think that's something we need to really instill lower down in the age groups within the foundation phases. Unfortunately, you get some overzealous youth coaches, don't you? And then what they don't realise is the long-term impact on those players. We'd have a 16 or 17-year-old player come to us, and they would be almost. I mean, we have it at Hawthorn now with our under-14s, where you have players come in, and because of the previous style of coaching, they're scared of making mistakes. They're scared of being told off. They're scared of being reprimanded. They're scared. Actually, how much better would players be? Yes, you need discipline. But how much better would that player be if they were allowed to just express themselves and enjoy the game for what it is? That's
what it's all about, isn't it? Especially that level of football, especially when you get to like the under 16s, under 18s, it kind of changes slightly because you want to win things. But when you're down like even the under 7s to like under 14, should we say, as you were saying, they should just go out and express themselves. You play a formation. You want to stick to that formation. if the kids want to come in, like say Saturday when they do the training. When I used to play, it was Saturday. Then you done the game on a Sunday because we didn't really have much of like a floodlight area, so you couldn't really train anywhere. You just want to go out, express yourself, and you want to enjoy the game of football, not to be shouted at or swore at or anything like that. Or which players may do now, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not a coach or anything else. I only want to see. You want to see that side of the football for the kids' side to enjoy themselves. But then when you come to like the under 18s, under 16s, it may, as I say, it changes slightly. Okay, still not to shout abuse at them because they're still at school. Trying to learn. The college do their GCSE studies, what they're trying to do, sixth form, whatever. But then at the weekends, it's about enjoying themselves. So with their mates, they want to do this and this and this. Go for it. But then if you want to win something, you put it in their mind. Okay, yes, you can go and do that. Yes, you can go and do this. Just don't shout at them. But then it changes when you get to that adult stage, doesn't it?
Listen, I mean, I've had conversations with parents because sometimes that's where the pressure comes from.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah,
I've had to have conversations with parents. Say, look, Johnny is, he's 11 years old once.
Yeah,
he will never be 11 years old again.
You're right.
Don't take this away from him. Let him enjoy it for what it is. Let him develop. Let him flourish.
Exactly.
Because what you'll end up doing is you'll end up stifling that enjoyment of the game. I mean, I have to say my transition into men's football was an eye opener.
Yeah.
Because obviously in men's football, the changing rooms, the dynamic is slightly different. And I don't know if it's because I'd gone from the Norwich reserves and then into sort of adults.
Yeah.
And then I'd do the under 18s as well. But with the adults, that's there you have a bit more of a frank conversation because at that stage, you are competitive and players have are motivated different ways, and this is where your skill as a manager or a coach comes to the fore is understanding what motivates different people.
Yeah.
You going 12 rounds with a player over something, at half time might not work with the player sat next to him, so and at the same time sometimes you try to put a sort of arm around the player, and what they'd actually want is they'd want you to actually put some fire up there behind.
Yeah.
And gives them that shot that they need to go out there because they need the adrenaline. So, Leiston's it's been a hell of an education. I'm learning from some great coaches. With we've got Matt Morling and Stu Ravel, who were the under 18s managers.
Yeah.
And you've got Ryan Honeyman, who's the reserve manager, and you just watch these guys who've been doing it for years, and you watch, you're thinking, okay, that's his style, but then actually you find that the trick to it is being versatile and being flexible and being empathetic and being human. And they sort of, I remember a game, I think it was, it was Yarmouth we played a couple of weeks back on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And, we'd sort of been doing well with the reserves at that point. And we were a bit complacent coming into it.
Yeah.
And it was sort of a bit of a drab half. We were losing discipline in the first half. And went into half time, and, it was a double-barreled approach from the manager. And it just, you could see that actually that passion lifted everybody in the changing room, and so the point is that there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and you sort of learn to pick and choose bits and bobs. Even with the 18s, there's elements of that. You know, it's just about understanding your audience. So yeah, lots to learn, my man.
I bet there is. So for the hopefully the season is going to be commencing on the 5th of December. What do you want to see at Leiston going forward?
Well, I'll say on the pitch, obviously, we all want to carry on from where we left off. We got the win before lockdown, which was more than well deserved, and we've had games where we've been unlucky. Yeah. So we now want to get past that point of actually going from unlucky to taking opportunities as much as possible. There's a great bunch of players there. Yeah. I would like to see them fulfil the potential that they've got, and obviously we'd like to climb that table. Yeah. I think that's the same with the reserves. I think things are going extremely well. Yeah. And same with the 18s. What I'd like to see continue there is that impeccable footballing pathway, that development pathway continue. Yeah. Youngsters who are still getting the opportunities despite the pressure of having to get results. Off the pitch, we've got things in the pipeline. Like I said, being the head of PR there, we're trying to get things in place where it's a club for everybody. Yeah. We've got things lined up with, obviously I keep mentioning Suffolk Mind. Yep. Who I think will be massively important in making sure that we're doing everything we can, not just for our players and coaches and backroom staff, but for the community as a whole. Yep. With regards to the media side, we're developing. We've developed a partnership with New Suffolk College. Brilliant. Yeah, good. Because we want to also provide opportunities for students and youngsters to get experience with media. Yeah. And it's not just media; it's everywhere, really. I mean, there's youngsters who are now helping in our clubhouse. They're getting jobs. There's youngsters who I met just before lockdown, along with their tutors, who are now doing projects in and around football itself. Brilliant. That's good. So we want to try and give opportunities to as many people, because that's what we've all had, isn't it? Opportunities, and that's it, isn't it? Absolutely. And with regards to the media team, I think they're evolving. Yeah. It's a very small team at the minute, but as soon as these students come on board, that'll be a lot of help. Yeah. We'd like to continue to celebrate everything that's good about not just Leiston, but non-league football as a whole. Definitely. So a lot of ambitions. I think the ultimate one is to make sure we're in the league next year, and hopefully we see football out through to the end of the season. Well, let's hope so, Victor. But hopefully on the 5th of December, it all gets the green light, and we can enjoy the second half to the season, and hopefully it continues until June, and then we can stop, and then hopefully we'll go into the next season. Really. Yes, fingers crossed, Lee. Definitely, fingers Victor. Crossed. Definitely. But Victor, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. It's been great talking to you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think it's always good to talk, isn't it? Definitely. It's always good to talk. Definitely. But for people who've been listening to the podcast, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. But for now, see you later. Bye-bye.